Welcome to our Coffee Break series on cities and climate action. We are speaking with a variety of elected representatives from cities around the world to gain insights and inspiration on how cities are responding to climate change. Coffee Break with Cities.
Great to have you here. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure. My name is Jeni Arndt, and I hold the position of Mayor of Fort Collins, Colorado, in the United States.
Okay, and can you tell us a little bit more about your city and how your city works with the issue of climate change?
Sure. Fort Collins is a city of about 175,000 people. We're in the northern part of Colorado. We're the fourth largest city in Colorado. Colorado is about 5.7 million people. Fort Collins has been really on the forefront of this for years. In fact, the first climate action plan of Fort Collins, I think, was in the late 1990s. And I used to serve in the state role, and I remember my colleagues at the state laughing at me. And I said, yeah, well, we'll just do what we do and you'll see. So we are the first city in the United States to have a public charging station. So it's just kind of been something that innovation and open-mindedness and pragmatism has been something that really is part of our DNA in Fort Collins. So it's not surprising that we would take on the challenge of climate change in a very robust manner early on to take up that challenge. Yeah.
And following on from that, I mean, is there a specific initiative around climate change your city's working on or kind of lifting up?
Sure, we're doing many things on many fronts, but the one program that's really is innovative, although when I heard about it, I was like, well, yeah, but it's not common, but it makes perfect sense. And in my life, my political life especially, I always look for win-wins, right? And so to me, this is such a great win-win. And it's the on-bill financing for homes to be retrofit for climate resiliency. So the idea is a homeowner calls the city, the EPIC Home Program comes out, evaluates the home, gives you a list of companies that will do the work, and then you pay back, the loan is put on your bill, 3% loan, and it's a revolving loan fund. So as you're paying back that loan, that money is being used to help other homeowners retrofit their home. And you're paying off your bill with the energy savings that were created from your retrofit. So it's synergistic, it's perpetual, and it's a win-win, and it's my favorite program.
No, look, it's a great example. I mean, retrofitting and resilience, and then like you're saying, a win-win, there's benefits everywhere. Following on from that, I mean, can you highlight some kind of key collaborations that your city has, either with that program or with other programs around the issue of climate change? Like, who do you work with?
You know, no one ever does these things alone, and as we had a last decade 17.5% growth in our city, and along the Colorado Front Range of the Rockies has been explosive growth. So our cities are growing together, right? So that creates a lot of necessity to not kind of go it on our own like we do in the United States. And in Fort Collins is a special designation called Home Rule City. So we have other extraordinary powers to just make decisions for ourselves, but of course climate change is not unique, you know. So regionalism is one of our current council's priorities, right? And then we have 50 years ago, our four parents created a four-city consortium for public utility in electric. And I sit on the board of that. There are four mayors and there are four utilities directors. And it's obviously nonprofit, it's publicly owned by the four cities. So that cooperation over the years has been very interesting because politically the four cities haven't been quite in sync. Fort Collins kind of, I'm resisting using the front analogy, but more aggressive in climate change than the others who now are also very much oriented. So keeping that board and the power authority, which we own, Fort Collins owns the most of it, being the biggest city, on the path to clean energy. So we have the 2030 goal of 100%, and we've already committed to retiring a coal-fired plant next year, and then the final one in 2029. So those commitments are ironclad, and now we're about 50% renewable now, and marching as fast as we can to 100%.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's clearly you're on your way to or you're in the middle of transformations and transitions. But when you look around the world at other cities, are there other cities, or is there a particular city around the world that perhaps inspires you or kind of helps you to think about your kind of work on transitions and climate change?
Well, that's why it's really nice to be here at ICLEI. Thanks for that question. But as a new mayor, I was elected a year ago, but I am from Fort Collins, so I've sort of watched this whole and been participating from the state level. And then my extended family is very, very much involved. We come here to be with like-minded cities to get good ideas and share ours too. So that's why we love gathering, yeah.
So you look at all different kinds of cities all around the world rather than one particular city as an inspiration.
Certainly, yeah. And, and everyone has something to share, a little bit how they do this. Or I was a former special education teacher and professor. So I've always been concerned, former Peace Corps volunteer, all that stuff, but very concerned with the most vulnerable populations. My whole life has sort of been my emphasis. So I'm really concerned about the price, the cost, and how do we bring everyone along. It's not going to work if just very wealthy people buy a Tesla and have rooftop solar. That's not the answer. So we have to make sure that we're not also, we have an affordability problem in Fort Collins. So when we increase our building codes and add costs, how are we making sure that people who live and work and play and learn in Fort Collins can also live there? And that to me is a really essential tension that I really want to focus on, yeah.
So working in a city, just a final question, if a national policymaker was sitting here from the US, let's say the president or someone in the Congress, I mean, what would you say to them in terms of what kind of support do you need at the city level to really be working with the issue of climate change? That's
well, because I'm from Fort Collins, Colorado, I would say please don't get in our way. But that's really, and then the kind of support, sometimes you need the big infrastructure dollar support. And then resiliency is such a big part because part of our energy mix is 20% hydro, but that comes from Lake Powell. And with the aridification in the western United States, that water is falling below the power pool. We're going to lose that hydro. So we can't build solar and wind fast enough to replace the hydro. So our progress won't be even. And I would also ask for everyone to pitch in and understand this is very complicated hard work. So we can't let the best be the enemy of the good immediately and leave anyone behind.
Fantastic insights. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you for watching. If you are interested in more details, please find the link below. Coffee Break with Cities. Conversations on climate action with elected representatives from cities around the world.